I am what can be accurately described as a casual modern FromSoft fan. I've completed Dark Souls 1, 2 and 3, but not the DLC, didn't play much Bloodborne, haven't played Demon's Souls or Sekiro at all, but I did play a lot of Elden Ring. One series I always had a soft spot for, however, was FromSoft's pre-Souls days, a series that was always very niche, even back then in the days of the PlayStation 1, that featured hyper-customisable mechs, challenging difficulty, incomprehensible controls and stories of mercenaries and corporations. A series that hadn't been heard from in over 10 years. A series that, when I heard it was coming back, filled me with a lot of anticipation, a good bit of nostalgia, a fair measure of glee, and maybe even a little pinch of fear. When I found out that Bandai Namco was giving me, of all people, a review copy for this new entry in a series I'd always hoped would come back but never really expected to, I booted it up for the first time and played those first few missions, and I knew then this is what I'd been waiting for. It's what I'd hoped for. This was a game to bring it from being a niche curiosity to being another core pillar from why FromSoft are held in the high regard that they currently enjoy. This was the way I'd hoped a modern version of these games would feel. This was Armored Core. Thanks again to Bandai Namco for providing a review code for the S and X version of Armored Core 6. The footage you're watching is alternating between the Series X and the PlayStation 5 versions of the game. Let's get some things out of the way straight off the bat. This is a new entry in a much older series than Soulsborne. Every reviewer and every outlet has already told you this isn't a Souls-like, it isn't a Souls game, it does not play like them and does not share mechanics. Comparisons cannot be made between titles, yada 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 yada. But yet, there are certain things FromSoft have clearly learned in the last decade that have influenced certain design choices in this title. You have a hard lock for the first time. You have limited heals. It is challengingly difficult, more on that in a minute. But at its core, pun not intended but acknowledged, these enhance the structure of an Armored Core game. Rather than turn it into something else, the hard lock allows you to focus on a single enemy, like in a Soulsborne, yeah. But your arms are actually less accurate when you do. You have limited heals in the form of repair kits, but you cannot replenish these outside of some missions having a resupply point. This allows the game to hit you harder and punish your mistakes more. All in all, this game uses what FromSoft have learned these last years to give us what they want Armored Core to be, not what would please Soulsborne fans. And it is important to remember this when you go forward. We need to talk about difficulty. And I know this is subjective. You might find something easy that I find difficult, and vice versa. However, the tutorial helicopter did kill me 3 times. I'm not ashamed to admit it, but it did, and I am fine with that. I wasn't playing how that fight was meant to play, and I paid for it until I did it right. Now the same goes for an early end chapter boss named Baltius, and he's become something of a meme recently for just deleting players on repeat, and I am among that number. Something like 3 hours I spent slamming my head against his armoured buttocks on release day, and I was getting frustrated. But you know what? Here is where I will make a comparison between this game and Dark Souls and Elden Ring. This is where I felt like both games were connected.
Get fucked! We got him! Ha 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 ha!
That feeling of pure exaltation when you beat a boss that's been troubling you for an evening or longer. That pure total dopamine rush when you take down that boss that's been using you as a ping pong ball for the last 2 hours. That is FromSoft magic in full swing. Yes, the game is hard at points. There are definitely some major spikes at certain points, but the game is never truly unfair. You have the gear available, you have the skills, you just need the patience to learn and pull it off. The other core component of AC6 is the garage, or garage, where you will build, modify, change, modify, build your Armoured Core ad infinitum. One of the big things about Armoured Core is finding what type of playstyle works for you and what works for specific missions. Do you think your standard build will do it, or are you going to need more ammo capacity, missiles, tetrapod legs for hovering, tank legs for armour, heavier weapons or lightweight reverse joint legs for rapid movement and jumping ability? It's up to you, and you can change your build and your weapons as often as you like. It's only when you start replaying missions looking for those juicy S ranks will you really start looking deep into what you are bringing to maximise your chances. A real special shout out really needs to go to the paint system, which gives you a full RGB colour wheel plus preset colours, the ability to select levels of lustre and sheen, as well as adding rust or scrapes, the ability to paint each individual part, as well as equipment, and the decal editor allowing for 100 layers so you can make pretty much whatever you please. Now, if you don't know, story has never really been huge in Armoured Core. It's usually something about mega corporations taking over everything and going to war with each other over resources or something. They tried harder as it went on with games like Last Raven and Armoured Core 4 and For Answer, actually attempting to introduce a broader narrative and choices in the latter. I then found myself rather quite surprised when I started to, actually care about the characters in this game. You never really meet them, all character dialogue is handled via radio communications, but each character is voiced well with clear personalities and are easily distinguished between each other. The story starts off as you'd expect really, but goes in wildly different directions depending on your choices. There are 3 endings in total, and the game is designed to be played 3 times and is worth doing. Now, I will forgive people for calling me biased in this review. I have already said I have history with the series and I have a particular love for Armoured Core 4 Answer. I actually have a 360 set up to this day with a copy of that game in it. However, I can say categorically that as much as I am about to discuss what I like about this game, there is a brief section on cons coming up that only exists because I am a fan of the series, and that made me notice some things, so take that as you will. That being said, I can also categorically say that this is now my favourite Armoured Core title. It has the scope, it has the art direction, it has the music, the atmosphere, the story, the characters, the customization. They released it at 65 quid for the deluxe version, but most importantly, it has the gameplay. Everything is smooth and easy to control. The review code I have is for the Xbox Series X, but I also have been playing it on the PlayStation 5, and I can say hand on heart that during the 30 odd hours on the Xbox and the 50 odd on the PS5, I have not encountered a single crash, stutter, bug or glitch. This game has launched in pristine condition, well at least it has for me. Now, this section is a bit of a weird one because the only real issues I have are because I have played the previous games. And really, it's just nitpicks. Like, some parts are missing that have been around in previous games. Like, weapon arms. These were like arms that had machine guns built into them. They've always been part of the games before. They are nowhere to be found in this one. It is a minor thing. And that can be said for other parts, like cooling units and that have just been absorbed into other branches in this game. Melee weapons only being equipable in the left arm, meaning you can't dual wield blades when you could before. That's a bit of a bummer, but with how they've revamped the melee system, I do get why. Other than that, I am actually struggling to come up with legitimate issues with this game. Some of the smaller missions are a bit too short, sometimes clocking in at like a minute or two, which can be frustrating at times, but these are just nitpicks, things that I've made myself notice and have not detracted from my overall experience of the game. Now, before we wrap this up, if you've found this even remotely informative, consider dropping a like or a sub, and remember, you can find me playing games over at twitch.tv/Mr. Poshart, on TikTok at Mr_Poshart because I ballsed that one up, and or over on Twitter.
I'll be deep in the cold, cold ground before I recognize
X
at Mr. Poshart. So, really, who's this game for? If you were a fan of Armored Core in the past, then it's a must buy. Go get it, never mind the rest of this video, just go. For everyone else, this game is a solid action game. It's hard to compare it to something else as it really is its own thing, but if I had to, it's like a vehicle combat game. Think Twisted Metal if you got to build the car. And that's one of the things that makes it feel so great. Spending an hour painting your AC just right, tinkering over the final touches to a custom decal, and so it feels just like yours. And you develop genuine connections to your suits. It shows that FromSoft can comfortably move out of the Souls-like space whenever they want and still make stellar experiences, and it's well worth your time in picking up. I am fully prepared to admit the game will not be everyone's cup of tea, and that's absolutely fine. Enjoyment is subjective. If you like it, you do. If you don't, you don't. It isn't going to be winning Game of the Year anytime soon, although I do see it winning a few awards. Best action game, I would put it in there, and maybe even being nominated for best multiplayer, which, hand on heart, I haven't really spoke about on this review, but it's like a mech-based soapbox derby as everyone just brings their ridiculously painted abominations into the fray. But I do have to score the game based on my experience. So on that note, and with everything said and considered, I would personally give Armored Core 6 Fires of Tropical Juice Drink a 9.5 out of 10. So with everything being said and done, I would say that about sums it up. Armored Core 6, it's good, you should get it. Thanks again to Bandai Namco for providing me with a review code for the game, and I do hope to do more of these in the future. Listen, a couple of points of order. Listen, I am well aware of how my audio sounds. I have never done a review before, if you couldn't tell. I haven't. But as a result, this is the first really hearing my mic quality back to me, and oh dear, it's fine on stream that it's not really suited for this, but listen, we'll work on that. If you want to see more of these and you think I should do more, message me, let me know if this was terrible. Comment, was it bad, was it good, was it mediocre, was it but anyway, with all that, I'll say thanks for your time and your patience. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Have a great day. I hope what you're doing is good. Enjoy yourself. I'll say toodle pips, tatty bye, cheerio, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.